Good evening, ma'am. It's really an honor and privilege to have you amongst us today. Listening to you just before this was truly inspirational. So, I would like to ask you, since you are the first women chief justice at the Telangana High Court, and as a woman, actually, it comes from me as a personal question, since I am starting off my career, and then there are certain fields which are more male dominated. So, how have you been navigating any challenges that you face, and how can women or our students who are going to join the workforce, how can they navigate the challenges that they foresee ahead?
I, I think the key answer to this lies in treating your male and female colleagues simply as colleagues. The moment you are at par with them and treat others at par with you, that aspect of who's a female or who's a male pales into insignificance. The other aspect is how to make the men comfortable with you too, because it has been seen that there are women in position and power are not that many. So there is some inherent discomfiture that men may feel when they have a woman in position and power, or those from whom they have to take orders. And I'm not saying colleagues have to take orders, because as a chief justice, you're just first among equals on the administrative side, but on the judicial side, uh, the chief justice and the judges are all at par. So for me, when I went to Telangana, I thought that I should do my groundwork and find out something about my colleagues with whom I was to work in tandem, so that I could give them some comfort and I could understand where they come from and how would be the best manner of my eliciting any work from them. What were their core areas of competence? And that's also part of management, in a manner of speaking. Let us not forget that a chief justice just doesn't run a court as in does matters in court, but runs a whole court administratively. And there are several layers of courts, right from the district court, the magistrates court, right up to the high court. So there is a whole lot of staff and the problems of staff that one has to deal with besides one's judicial work. So that kind of management skills one must acquire to be able to have a healthy working background at inside the chief justice's chambers, just as one would work effectively and efficiently inside of court while dispensing judgments.
Of course, sure, ma'am. That makes a lot of sense. And coming to my second question, ma'am, your journey. If you think about your journey when you started from Delhi University, Saint Stephen's, and then of course to the Supreme Court of India, it is definitely legendary. So if you had to go back in time and then give your younger self some advice, and then for our students, if you who are just starting off with their careers, what would be that one key takeaway that yes, if I implemented this early on, things have been better, or this is my learning from my journey.
So I think it's important to flow with the tide. Too much of planning can also ruin one's perspectives. Then you come with preconceived notions about some things. I was never heading for a legal practice at all when I started my career as a college student, and then went on to do my post graduation in history, both history, and then went into law. At that time, with the idea that I was probably going to join the Indian Administrative or Foreign Service, so basically the civil service, what we call. And the perspective was to be able to have two subjects on which I could focus for my mains, and history being one. And I thought I'll pick up something in law, and that's how I landed up in the Campus Law Center at Delhi University. I had no such plans of doing law. There's nobody in my family who'd ever done law and come from a completely academic background from my mother's side and a business background from my father's side. But I think if I wouldn't have flown with the tide, perhaps I would have got stuck somewhere with a preconceived notion of, yes, I want to do the civil services and I'm heading for that. I detoured and landed up doing law and then went on to get into a practice which was never ever on my agenda. So sometimes I think it's important to flow with the tide and let things take their own course. On hindsight, you find that that was a better option, right?
And the judicial system has
Yes.
definitely benefited
I
from
know.
that guide.
And that was never on my. I could even dream as a lawyer that I'd end up being a judge.
Oh, ma'am, your journey has been inspirational.
Thanks.
So the next question for you is, of course, now students are going to join the corporate and the legal world outside, and since childhood we are told that do the right thing and make the correct decision, but sometimes like figuring out what is right and wrong, sometimes there is a gray area, like not every decision can be perfectly right or perfectly wrong. So how do you navigate through any such decisions while
It's so simple that you have to have your heart ticking, not just your mind ticking. If you find inside of you and always hear that little voice inside of you, whether it tells you directly, and it will if you listen to it, maybe it'll speak louder inside of your mind, whether you're on the right track or not. You know from inside, invariably, you don't need others to tell you whether you're on the right track or not. So these ethical dilemmas can all be settled if you don't just think from the mind, you think from the heart. And at the end of the day, those are decisions when the mind and the heart think on the same lines and are at tandem, that you know you're on track. You don't need third parties to tell you that. Maybe your peers, maybe your parents, if you bounce off ideas from mentors, peers, parents, people who matter to you, they will reinforce your thought process. But inside of you, each time there is a dilemma, you know what is right and wrong. You may not accept it at that point of time. You may choose to ignore it and listen to your mind over your heart. But if you keep a balance while listening to your heart, what your mind is telling you, I don't think you go wrong.
that gut feeling?
Yes, absolutely. And that's the strength of a woman, particularly.
Absolutely.
That what we talk of gut feeling, women have it big time. I'm not saying men don't have it, not at all. But I'm saying that women go by the gut more often than perhaps men do. And it matters.
Absolutely. Ma'am, you have been a great advocate for marginalized communities and upholding ethical practices in workplace scenarios.
Yeah.
What essentially an organization can do so that the diverse voices are heard and they are valued at the same time?
So the most important thing is, see, when we talk of institutions like yours, we're talking of women as in minority. The most important way of showing that an institution or a management is keeping a balance or an equilibrium is to make sure that women are in places where they count, where their decision making is honored. It is expected that they will contribute in the process instead of just following the line or following orders. Women, let us not forget, are the most important multitasking persons we have in the society. It's their contribution on the home front is not counted in economic terms, but in real time, that's a contribution, if it is actually quantified in monetary terms, will far exceed what perhaps the other members of the family contribute to the kitty. So once one recognizes that women can multitask and that they are as good at decision making as men are, an institution will automatically grow. That's important.
Definitely, ma'am. I think the organizations today have so much to learn from this. Ma'am, next, a very simple. You have, of course, you've had an illustrious career, and then it has been inspirational for so many people, including me, being a woman professional. So, if you look back at your journey, what has been that rewarding moment and that moment that really you feel that yes, if I did this and I did impact somebody somewhere?
See, you don't realize many times that how much your decisions may impact a person or a society or a community's life. When we do matters in court, we are largely focusing on the subject before us. Of course, there are matters which are personal disputes, there are family disputes, there are service disputes, there are contractual disputes, but there are public interest litigations too. There are what we call rights under Article 226 or Article 32 when it comes to Supreme Court, which are the larger rights of the society, of the humanity, of the community. There you can see palpably that whatever your orders are, once they're implemented, they are going to have a positive outcome for the society. For example, while in the Supreme Court, in the matter what we call in-ray jails across India, they were an effort to improve the condition of inmates of jails, then the conditions inside of jails, where a spew of orders were being passed as a successive division benches in the Supreme Court. And when it came to me as heading a bench there, I and my brother Jan also passed a slew of orders, a slew of directions for improving the infrastructure, the health, the overall impact, ensuring that there is a long-term plan to make jails less crowded, uh, more easy. So just because there is a person is punished doesn't mean he's punished also too inside of jail to the point of making life miserable for him. So the right to health is not put on a standstill because somebody's in jail. Such like things you can see the impact on ground immediately. On those who have already undergone imprisonment for the period directed and somehow are still somewhere waiting for their turn to pay for an exit because perhaps the administration has forgotten about them. Those are things that you can see for yourself make a difference. But there are matters where you won't have realized the effect of your decision on a party, and not just a party, the whole family that is behind that party. Those you come across once maybe the matter's over, and somebody meets you on the street and tells you that you were the one who decided my matter, and this is how I benefited, and you wonder, oh really, this is how it panned out. Because you haven't seen the face behind that matter. You only have that file and that name and the dispute before you. So there are ways and ways that the society is impacted by decisions as long as we are, and that's a service, what I call, that's called literally a service industry. As as a judge, you are doing service to the society. In some way, you're able to change the life of somebody at any point in their career. I think you made that difference to society.
That is, I think,
That's
very
about
well said.
it.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us today. It was a privilege to have you with us and
Thank
then
you
listen
so
to
much.
your glorious words.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for answering all the questions that we thought.